Welcome to Crucial Dialogue, hosted by Reverend Roger Gambrell and Reverend Clinton Thomas, where we discuss pivotal and controversial issues for those that need nurturing and clarity in the faith. Converse with us. Ask any question you want. Meet us online and join the dialogue. This is Crucial Dialogue.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Crucial Dialogue, where we discuss controversial and pivotal issues that need clarity in the faith. As always, I am your co-host, Reverend Clinton Thomas. Glad to be here with you on this Monday evening. I have with me tonight my co-host, my partner in crime, my partner in the ministry, Reverend Roger Gambrell. Pastor Gambrell, how you doing today, man?
It's good, man. I missed you guys last week, but I'm good. I'm just ready to get started with Crucial Dialogue this evening.
Amen. Well, we're glad to have you back. We also have with us, folks, Deacon Andy Jackson. Deacon Jackson, what's going on? How you doing today?
Doing good, doing good. Took a week off like Reverend Gambrell and couldn't see my seat long enough to get back to have some crucial dialogue.
Well, I'm glad the both of you are back. You're going to get your paperwork docking your pay next week, so don't worry about it. Glad to have y'all back on Crucial Dialogue. And then we have with us, back by popular demand, Sister Sherelle Ross, otherwise known as Princess Firecracker. Princess Firecracker, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's Leo season. My birthday is this Friday. I accept gift cards, Target, Walmart,
Okay.
all of that.
Okay. All right. Stay tuned. We got something coming your way. Folks, we got a wonderful topic on today. I think it's applicable to what's going on during this time of the year as our children get ready to go back to school. Some have already started, and we know just how important that is. Well, the pandemic has caused a lot of frustration, whether our children have been doing in school, in person, or virtual learning. It's been a challenge. But today, folks, those of you out there in YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever the world you in, all of that old stuff, Facebook also, we're going to be talking about today's panel discussion. The crucial dialogue will be the importance of parents taking their children to church. We're going to talk about that today. Should it be? Should we take them? Is it optional? Should we make them go? Should it be their choice? Will it help them with them? Panel, let's discuss the importance of taking our children to church. And always, those of you that are out there in YouTube and Facebook world, we hope you're live with us today. We want to hear from you. You can chat with us. You can send in your comments or your questions or whatever is on your mind. Remember, keep it clean. There's no need to be mean. So let's start off tonight. Is it, and how is it? Why is it? Why not? All of that. Taking our children to church. Pastor Gambrell, opening thoughts. Let's get going tonight.
From what I believe Scripture teaches, if we're supposed to disciple people, which is the responsibility of every Christian is supposed to disciple and reproduce themselves. The very first people you should reproduce, or you should reproduce Christ in your children. At least you ought to make every effort to attempt to. So I believe that it's very important that your children are introduced to Christ and raised, and what the old folks said, the admonition of the Lord. So that's very important.
Boy, I like that. What the old folks used to say. Boy, if we could have some big mamas back around, boy, I think some folks would be a lot better off. Deacon Jackson, opening comments. The importance of parents taking their children to church.
Well, I think it's very important that each parent does disciple their children. I think it's important to take them in a church atmosphere. But I think that we have to really cautious whether or not the church is kid friendly. And what I mean by that is that there are people that are in the church that are capable of breaking the Bible down into the ages, the different age groups. And not only that, as far as being teachers and able to organize a classroom to where we can make it more fun to learn about Christ. So I do believe it's important, but I also believe that the structure of the church needs to be set up to where we are maximizing those young minds that we're influencing.
Okay, Princess Firecracker, what's on the tip of your tongue right now? Is the importance of parents taking their children to church?
Well, for me, growing up, I never had a choice. Church was a part of the week. You know, you went to work Monday through Friday or school. Sunday, you went to church. So that's just what it was. And then as I got older, it was if you can do all this stuff during the week, you can definitely make it to church. So there's no excuse. I do believe nowadays it was always important to bring your children to church, but I think now I feel like it's a little bit more crucial because they're really fighting hard. Well, they already took God out of school, but they fighting hard to take it and rewrite that story to where it's almost like it's mythical, if you must. So I think it's very important that we take our children to church, but also, like Andy said, make sure it is kid friendly because we can also confuse them. So
What what is kid friendly? I'm struggling with that. What is
Yeah.
kid friendly?
So let me kid friendly is more of a layman's type Bible. So you got the new NIV, and then you got King James. So when you have a structure to bring a child in. So if I drop my son off at the children ministry, I just want to make sure that the way that he's engaging in the Bible is something that he's gonna be able to retain. I think that if you come across it the wrong way, you can lose kids because you got to remember that they getting influenced a lot different than we were. So when we were made to go to church, the influences were in the atmosphere. They was outside. Now the influencers are everywhere. They're on your phone. They're at the schools. They're at even at the church sometimes. So when I say kid friendly, I mean that an environment that's inviting for kids to want to come learn about Christ.
Okay,
We have
all right.
we have a comment on the screen. And, do kids
Do
have a
kids
choice?
have a choice? Should they have a
I
choice?
didn't.
Wow, let's talk about that.
I
Huh?
don't think they should.
Well,
Okay,
this Proverbs 22:6 says, "Train up a child." So train up a child in
right.
the way that he should go. So it's not the verse is not written in the in the indicative. It's written in the imperative. It's
Okay,
written as a command, which means it's a command to parents. Children don't train themselves. They're supposed to be trained. It's a responsibility. Parents are the first teachers of the child. And that
okay,
means parents have to emulate Christ to their kids. You can have a great church environment. You can have great people in the ministry. They can pour into children's life, and parents can screw it up because they don't live what Christ is. They don't live a Christ-like life in the home in front of their children to really solidify the faith of the child, to make the faith real to the child. So it's very important that the parents are committed themselves. Brother Andy raised the concern of being able to do kid friendly things in the church. Well, that
hmm
requires adults to be committed to kids. That requires
right.
adults to die to themselves. That requires adults to themselves be discipled so they can teach. Because to teach, you have to be trained. So there have to be some sacrifices made. I'm a high school teacher. I've been a high school teacher for 26 years. Um, I was trained to be a teacher. There are some gifts I brought, but I've always been trained, and even to this day, I'm still being trained. So ultimately, but in the church, we have to have adults, young adults as well as older adults, who have a heart and concern for discipling children and youth. In addition, now let me say this. This is in addition to what the parents are already doing, because the parents are supposed to be doing it already.
Right. Now,
Kids that have
there was
choices
a
become
comment made
adults who
about.
don't make the choice.
I would
Wait,
say
say that again,
that
Sherelle. I
Oh
want
no,
to hear. Say that again, Sherelle.
I said kids that are allowed to make a choice become adults that don't make the choice at all. And I say that in the sense of, if you have a child and you ask them, do you want to go to church today? They may say yeah, they may say no, depending on what they're going to get at church. When I was a kid, we went to Abundant Life, and every day they served breakfast, donuts, kolaches, every Sunday like clockwork. That was an incentive. I went. I didn't have a choice, but I was happy to still go. I still learned. We stayed the Bible games. But if I would have had a choice, I probably would have said no, because I want to stay home and watch cartoons. It's the weekend. So if you let a child have a choice, when they get older, all the stuff that's ingrained in their mind that they see on social media, oh, all they want is my money. Oh, God, not real. All this stuff. Now, as an adult, you can't make me go. Now I don't want to go. I'll catch it on TV. I may or may not. So if you give kids too many choices, like you said, Pastor Gambriel, they're not trained. You have to train a child. It's a lot easier to train a child than an adult.
But I wanna.
Okay.
We thinking about training. The word train has a lot of different connotations in the Hebrew language. It means to catechize, it means to develop, and it means to strengthen the faith of one. So when we talk about the responsibility of training, the parents have to have a passion for Christ to emulate to the child. Jesus said in Matthew 5:16, he says, let your life so, no, he said in Matthew 5:13, he said, you are the salt of the earth. Well, what is salt for? Salt is for giving flavor to the food. In other words, it's the
Right.
parent's role and responsibility for the child to live a salty life in front of the child. So that Christ is attractive to the child. That's the role and responsibility of the parent. And that's something that's not easy to do because we still deal with our own faults and failures. But it is our responsibility. It is our most important responsibility to emulate Christ to our children so they understand what it means to have a relationship with the Lord. We're not talking about religion. We're talking about developing a relationship where Sherelle said, well, I don't want to go. It's not about wanting, it's I have a relationship with the Lord. That's what it develops into.
Andy, you were sitting on a comment.
Yeah, I was going to answer the question. I think that children shouldn't have a choice, but I do think they should have an opinion. And I think that opinion should be listened to and valued to understand. So it goes back to the environment of church. And I understand that it's the parents' their responsibility to guide their kids and nourish their kids. But I mean, we trust institutions with our kids all the time. And so when we're in environments that don't feed our kids in a way that we're trying to, so I can have all the intention in the world, like you say, and I can send my child to a church that picked the first volunteer that was willing to watch the kids and can be in there doing who knows what in the back room. So it's still the church's, as an institution, responsibility to make sure that the people that are leading and guiding our kids are capable of doing it.
Yeah. Now,
Okay. Let me ask a question.
I agree totally.
Let me ask a question. The question is, what makes a parent give the child a choice in the first place? What makes a parent give? Now, if the parent is going, they obviously see some value in the relationship with Christ. Let's talk about what may make a parent give their child the choice to go or not to go. What do you think are some deciding factors? Come on, Princess.
Please pick me.
Me. Go.
I'm not a parent. However,
Okay.
I know some parents. So with that being said, you got the kids that are loud in church, antsy, don't want to sit still. That could be a choice. I don't feel like dealing with you, so you stay here with whoever. It could also be, you know, it could also be
She just
That's a
spitting facts,
choice.
man. She just being factual.
that's
crucial
a choice, man.
dialogue.
You
Yeah,
know
be
your
crucial.
kid.
Tell the truth, baby.
That's just what it is. It could also be at the church. They not coming straight back home. They want to go to Sunday Fun Day. So you can't go to Sunday Fun Day with a kid. What is Sunday Fun
Sunday
Day? You
fun. Yeah,
You
that's
wanna
where
know
I'm
what-
headed.
Sunday
Help
Fun
a
Day
brother
is
out.
Sunday Fun Day is brunch. It doesn't necessarily have to be at a club. It could be, you know, at any restaurant. It's brunch and it's involved with, you know, mimosas and, you know, just I guess you can call it fellowshipping, but it's not fellowshipping, I guess, in Christ. It's more so just with friends and family. So it's nothing wrong, but some people don't want their kids with them. You can't have fun, so they say. So I heard, with your kids next to you.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
You
what?
know.
What?
I saw two fathers. Two fathers got chuckled. I want to hear from the daddies. Come on, daddies.
Yeah. Go ahead,
Well,
Josh.
I think one reason, and this is personal to me, is that the way that I felt as a child of doing something that I didn't want to do, and I wasn't in an environment that made me feel wanted. So if I was made to go to church and I didn't enjoy church as a child, then as I get older and have kids, I'm gonna consider what my kids think about the church as far as a choice, because I know personally what being made to do something that I didn't want to do did to me, as far as stunned my development as far as a believer. You know, I didn't get that opportunity to enjoy church because I felt like I was made to go.
Okay.
Did y'all see that comment? I'm sorry. Before
I was trying to read it. I couldn't see all of it. There it
that
is. Sharon Porter. Not only kid friendly, also teenage friendly. Not only a kid friendly church, but also a teenage friendly church. I have a nephew that does not believe in God slash Jesus because of the death of his mother. So he is mad at the church as well as God. Thank you, Miss Porter, for those comments. Wow.
wow.
So,
So
I guess I can
sounds
try.
like,
well, I was
come on,
gonna
Pastor
say,
Gambrell.
you know, the person Miss Porter mentioned about being a kid friendly church and a teen friendly church. There's a lot of work that churches need to do, but I want to go back to this central challenge. It takes adults who are committed to do the work.
Right.
See, God is not going to come down here and do it. He's delegated that responsibility to the leaders and to the ministry workers and to God's people in a local church to do the local church ministry. And it's not all even about what activities you don't have in the church, because if you have a church that's challenged financially, there's some things they just can't do. It's not going to be
Right.
about the things you can do for the kid. It's going to be about the other intangible things that you do as a ministry to really demonstrate a loving atmosphere. So I do think it's important when we talk about teen friendly, kid friendly, it needs to be a loving atmosphere, number one. It
Okay.
needs to be a patient, an atmosphere where we don't focus so much on the exterior things. The focus needs to be on developing relationships, really emulating what Christ looks like, putting Jesus with skin on. Jesus with skin on. That's what we call it at KA at camp. We call it Jesus with skin on. People in the community, in the church community, that really emulate Christ in their actions and their patience and their working with kids to help kids through. Like a kid like this, a church family that loves on him, the love of God can break through that. That's what it takes. But it has to be a community of people that's really serious about doing God's work for kids and youth to do that.
Pastor Gambrell.
Agreed.
Pastor Gambrell, before we deal with his comments, I heard you use the acronym KAA. What in the world does that mean? KAA. What are you talking about?
Kids Across America is a Christian camp that we take kids to every year. We've been doing it for 15 years. The last year and a half, 2 years, we haven't taken them because of the pandemic. But we exposed them to this camp because it was a means of developing them and exposing them to ministry outside the normal church environment.
Okay.
One thing, but we wanted to get them into that community for them to see God bigger than what they normally see. To meet people from different places and to really see Jesus from a different perspective. And it's a sports camp, so the kids have fun, they enjoy themselves, but the gospel is preached. And there's a level of intensity they don't get in the normal church atmosphere. So that's Kids Across America.
Thank you for that. So it sounds like, to those of you that are parents,
Great place
and you
to
may
be.
have small children, and you might have teenagers,
10
it sounds
10
like
years
there
on-
are
10
other
years on the boat.
avenues. Right. There are other avenues that we can apply to our daily lives to help our children have more fun in learning, as Andy mentioned earlier. Sounds like Kids Across America, in which I have gone also. My daughter has been a part of that. And so I agree. It's awesome, and it helps expose children to God in another way, using sports and the great outdoors and things like that. Bouchard, we had a comment up there from Miss Thomas. Could you put that back on the screen? Someone was about to say something when you finished. Oh, no, here it is. Here we go. It says, we do not give our kids a choice with school, meaning public school, meaning the secular school. And we know that their salvation is more important. Then why do we not have the same energy? Why do we not have the same zeal? Why do we not do the same with God's church? Princess
Please pick me.
Firecracker. We pick you. Go ahead, sister. We pick you. We
You
pick
want to know
you.
why?
Go ahead.
You want to know why
Tell us why.
they don't some parents don't make their kids go to church? Because if your child doesn't go to school, it's a thing called truancy. And since they're
Yes,
minors,
ma'am.
the cops will come pick up the parents.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
if there was a way for God to come pick up y'all for not bring y'all kids to church, I bet y'all go then. That's why y'all make sure they up 7:30 in the morning, getting dressed on that bus, in the car right line, however they get there. That's why.
So we need to send somebody after the parents. That's what it sounds like.
Again, but and that's Sherelle made a great point. But see, again, it has to be the people that's in the church who are unapologetically going after the kids.
Mhm.
See,
Okay.
it has to be. See, I can't be afraid to make a phone call to check on why a child is not there, and I have to be willing to take the smoke I might get from the parent, because that goes along with ministry. I'm a high school teacher. I call parents and get lip from parents a whole lot about kids that's not in school.
Mhm.
So it's not like it's not like that it's not like, well, we don't go after people, but we need more. We have to have more people in the church who are committed to young people, discipling young people to come alongside the parents, because a lot of the parents have not been convinced of who Christ is. A lot of the
Okay.
parents are struggling in their own lives. A lot of the parents are struggling to believe in God themselves. We in a generation, this generation, we talk about 2 generations back of people that were faithful, devout believers, went to church every Sunday. We 2 generations past this.
Uh-huh.
My grandparents were my great-grandparents. I'm talking about my grandparents. My great-grandparents
Okay.
were way more solid in their faith than my grandparents were. So we're looking
Okay.
at 2 generations that have come and gone, and now we're at a state where we have almost lost kids. And again,
Wow.
we got to go back to some basic things where we actually call people and say, "Hey, Sister Johnson, we don't see Terry. We don't see Lakeisha. How are you doing?" We got to have people with that type of zeal who are going to make the calls and go after people.
But you know what, too, though? The kids got to not be embarrassed to talk about Christ with their friends. Because if I'm a youth and I go and I'm involved in church, but when I get to school, I don't speak a lick about God. I'm not saying they have to talk about it all day, but it's, if you see one of your friends going through something, why not offer to pray with them? Them kids have to be comfortable with talking about it. And right now, that's not cool. You're seen as the Jesus kid. So the kids got to also be comfortable. I'm not saying that the adults shouldn't take responsibility as well. But if the adults are doing what they're supposed to be doing, why can't we put a little pressure on the kids to do what they're supposed to do too? I remember Pastor Clint, one day you said with the youth, if you see somebody doing something that you know is not right, speak on it. Let them know you a follower of Christ and you're going to be my friend. That's not Christ-like. You know what I'm saying?
That's discipleship. Discipleship is challenging. Discipleship can get ugly. When you're trying to develop relationships with people, you see the good in it. But when you really start fellowshipping with people and you really meet people and get to know people, you find out things about people like, man, but when you committed to somebody, you committed to the good and the bad. You committed to walking with people in their hurts and their pains. And a lot of times, a lot of our young people struggle with a lot of the believer and adults because we kind of inconsistent. But they have to see real, they got to see a real life example. That's what I said. Jesus with skin on, man. It's got to be, we got to live this thing in front of these kids so they can see that Christ is real. Because all of the talking is talk, but there's got to be some life behind it, which gives power to what the Word of God says.
But you know what? There was just a comment about judgmentalness. A lot of these adults are really judgmental. So you can't tell me you want me to come to church and I come in my flesh, in my skin, and you're judging me. I'm not asking for you to judge me. I need help. Talk to me like I'm a human. Don't talk to me like, don't talk at me. Talk to me. Understand me. Speak my language. Where I came from. I'm talking for the non-Christians now, because that's the ones who y'all are trying to talk to. We're not talking about the kids that grew up in the church. We're talking about the ones on the streets. I don't understand some of the stuff you tell me. I can't wear this. I can't talk like this. Why? This is how I grew up. This is how my mama talk. So I need you to come to me calmly, talk to me normal, let me know it's okay, you accept me. Because the second I feel like you don't accept me and I'm a problem, out the door. You won't see me again.
Hey, look, one time in the youth ministry.
Go ahead, Pastor.
One time in the youth ministry, I had the kids fill out cards, and I always asked them questions aloud and asked them to put their answer on an index card without putting their name on it. And then one time I asked, why do you use so much profanity? And I got several cards back that said, because my mama or my daddy or my parents use it, so I use it. They use it around I see them using it around their friends, and so I use it around mine. That was that was an honest answer I got from some of the teenagers, and so
that's real.
I agree that the parents have a definite effect on their children, and if I agree with you, Pastor Gambrell, if the children saw more of Christ, maybe they would want to learn more about Christ from a church environment, but they're seeing something bad at home, so they think that same thing might be in the church. I see a comment that says parents have to support the children's ministry and the teen ministry at their church, and the way you can support is not when we see the word support, don't automatically think financial. You can give your time, you can give your knowledge. If you have a certain skill set or you work in a certain career field, come volunteer for a hype night like when before COVID, and just tell the kids what it's like to be a police officer, a doctor, or a nurse, a mechanic, and just let them see how Christ is working in your life outside the church. It may influence them to take a different path. So very good. Thank you for your comments. Deacon Jackson, I see you sitting on a comment. Come on.
Well, I like the I guess let's get a little more crucial dialogue with this, is because we done figured out that the parents, not doing as much as they can. But the immediate question is it okay, or should you bring your children to church? And so a lot of times we miss out on the fact that the church is an institution. The church is responsible for lights, gas, water. I don't think they pay taxes, but you have some obligations out of the church. And a lot of times we don't see that administration. So sometimes they'll say, well, if we had more people tied in, we would be able to have an administration, or we'll be able to pay the teachers that are in the that are volunteering, you know, or to be able to establish some type of council that is responsible for outreach. But we never really look at it and say, well, if the church, we don't ask the church, well, we don't say that your money is where your heart is at. You know what I mean? Like for the church, we don't say that. We don't say that they're not. I mean, if you just invested in people, maybe that would backdoor come back, you know. But sometimes we're waiting on the financial gains from the congregation when, you know, it's benefits out there that allow churches to have staff. And so if we really, really are serious about the teaching, then, you know, you got to put your money there, man. People want to, you know, they want to make sure that they are comfortable when they give their time. And I'm not saying that that's 100% right, but I'm saying that that's the world that we live in. If you have to volunteer and as much time that you put in for certain people, if you're not compensated on a financial basis, eventually you're going to get burned out. And so that leaves us open as a church to say, well, if you guys just paid your tithes, then we could do more. Well, what about investing the other way? You know, what if we really had a staff that went out and got the congregation to do better? I'm just saying, let's look at it a little bit different than just saying, oh, the parent, because if you grow up in this country, it's really, really hard to get to the point where you're as faithful in ministry if you didn't grow up in a church where your parents showed you, and not only just the parents, but the pastor in the church and the sisters in the church and the deacons in the church. Like, it was a whole community that Pastor Gambrell talked about, but at the same time, it was family that all went to the same church. You know, it was the whole community church. Now we're going to churches. I live in Pearland. I go to church in Missouri City. You know, we're going where we get fed, and we don't have that desire as much to volunteer.
Ooh, comment.
Okay, all right. So let me read.
Go ahead.
Before we go forward, let me reach out to the parents that are listening, that have children, and you don't take them to church. We want to hear from you. We want to know why. We're talking about the importance of parents taking their children to church. So if you're a parent and you're out there in Facebook world or YouTube and you don't take your child to church, we want to know why. We want to hear from you, okay? This is some good dialogue. We want to hear from some of the people on the outside of the panel. All right, come on, Sherelle and Pastor Gambrell.
So,
PG, you want to go first?
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, when I was in elementary school, I attended daycare called Good News. And it was a lady there named Miss Eve. Miss Eve worked in the baby room, but Miss Eve did Bible study every Wednesday. You can hear Miss Eve coming down the hall. God is good, and we had to respond all the time. If we did not respond, we didn't get past God is good. But where I'm getting at is, when we heard her coming, whatever we was doing, eating breakfast, playing with toys, whatever, stopped. Miss Eve is coming. Grab you a Bible. If you didn't bring one from home, there's a shelf full. Grab you one, get your seats in order, sit down, be quiet. Miss Eve came in, her chair was set. You can't sit in Miss Eve's chair. Her chair was set in the front of the room. She had a Bible, she had her pictures. It was just the way she taught. She didn't just read from the Bible. She taught it like she knew it. She taught it like she enjoyed teaching it. And after that, we did our Bible drills. And it was probably about maybe 30, 45 minutes, not even a long thing. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, she taught it with passion. She was not getting paid extra for that. That was something that she wanted to do. So when it comes to, I can't remember if Andy or PG said it, but when it comes to teaching, you got to have a passion. Whether in the school district or in the church, you got to have a passion. Because if you don't have that passion, guess what? This unsaved Christian that you're talking to can see all through that. I'm like, okay, I don't even believe what you're talking about. Now you done lost me. I ain't listening no more. I'm watching the clock because now I'm ready to go. Now I'm hungry. I done got home. I'm not here. When you have that passion, and I know you know what you're talking about. I don't have to know the Bible, but if I know that you know what you're talking about, you got me. I'm intrigued. Tell me more. So that's what we need. We need a Miss Eve.
You say unsaved Christian.
Yeah. Yeah, you are, that's oxymoron.
Come on, Pastor Gambrell.
You know what I mean.
Here's my story. Here's my story. I come into the church. I'm 16 years old. I don't have socks on. My shirt, my pants is flooded. The shirt I got on, I could barely fit. My friend brought me to church. I'd never been to church in my life. So here I am, 16 years old, never knowing this. I'm just off the corner, man. I just didn't know. Dad was on heroin, drugs. My mom was barely working, and that's my background. But the people in the church put their arms around me and accepted me and loved me where I was. My mother never attended the church. It was my best friend and his mom that discipled me.
Wow.
So again,
okay.
And his mom was not that strong of a believer, but the church said invite people to church. So he said to me, my friend said to me, my mom said, you can't come over and stay the weekend if you don't come to church. I said, all right, I got to go then, whatever, because I don't want to go back to my house. So
wow,
it was the people in the church who looked past the fact I didn't have a shirt and tie on. Everybody in there was old school shirt and tie. So some of the deacons pretty much take me under their wing and buy me some church clothes. So I go back to this, and I believe this because the scripture teaches this. You have to have people who understand the responsibility of discipleship and the dying to themselves. I don't care nothing about what's going on in culture today, because because what Jesus said in the word has not changed. People have to commit to discipling. It's basic. We make this real more difficult. We talk about life on life stuff. Andy works for HEB. What Andy does for a living in his everyday life, he can disciple people through what he's doing. So it has nothing to do with this man. Just wherever you are in life, start helping somebody. That's what people did. I wasn't in no church full of professional people. This guy's a plumber. This guy was a lawn man. This other guy was a retired construction guy. That's it. They just walk with me. That's all he did.
Well, I think that you don't have to be a professional to get paid, though. I mean, like, I think that's part of the issue right there. You know what I mean? When we're talking about making payments to having employees, because that becomes a government institution, more or less. You see what I mean? You got guidelines and stuff that you got to go, labor laws and stuff like that you have to abide by when you start paying people. So that hinders some churches from actually, investing in some of the people that help.
Yeah, but my response to that is that there were men there who was just giving of their time. They just saw a kid like me who needed their life. They just saw the brokenness in me. And they decided to get out of themselves and just say, "You are our son." That's what happened. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the kids in Quail Valley. I'm talking about the kids in Quail Green, Hunters Glen 3, who don't have male role models. That's what I'm talking about. Out here at the park and seeing these kids, and man, and we know the parents are not teaching. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, because those are not my kids. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm trying to say. That those are not my kids. That may have been me, but those are not my kids. So
we need to. I'm sorry, y'all. Let's get back on the topic of the importance of parents taking their kids to church.
But that's what
let's
we're
try to
talking
we want to
about.
get back on.
Yeah, that's
We talking
what we're
about
That's
talking
it.
about. Yeah, that's
I
what
know,
we're
but
talking
we're
about.
getting a little. I know, but
No,
we're getting
but
into the community, and we're losing the grip on the why the parents don't bring their kids to church. Now I understand there's some things going on in the community, and there may be some things that happen in the church that may influence whether people work harder, volunteer, serve, or whatever. But remember, we're talking about the importance of parents taking their children to church. So that's all I'm saying. Let's get back toward
yeah.
that. As a matter of fact, we're just about out of
Said
time.
y'all
So
got
let's
too
go around the
fired
room.
up.
We coming
Yeah,
back
I'm
to
gonna
this next
start with
week.
Sister Sherelle. Sister Sherelle, give me
Me and
about a
Jackson gotta go
minute
back
of
on this next week.
closing. Yeah. Give me about a minute on closing remarks of the importance of parents taking their children to church.
Okay, I'm first. Cool. So I
Yeah.
just parents, you gotta have patience. Take your time, bring your kids to church. People that are in the church, take time, see these kids, hug them, grip them, hold on to them tight, make that connection. Like y'all said, it's a relationship. It's not just I see you for 30 minutes once a week. No. Get phone numbers, get email addresses, invite them to outings, reach out to these people, because if the parents fall short, us in the church, we can help. We can pick up the slack. But we got to be passionate. We have to be welcoming. And we have to leave our judgment at the house. I don't care what you've been through. I just want to get you to where you're supposed to be.
All right. Thank you, Sherelle. Deacon Jackson, the importance of parents taking their children to church.
So I think it's very important for parents to take their kids to church, especially if they're bringing them to Christian Bible, where they will be fed. And so I want to make sure that when we're having this conversation, we're not talking about our church. We're talking about church in general. And when it comes down to it, you need to be able to get that same kid that's from Third Ward and that same kid that's from Sugarland and teach them the word on their level. And then the better prepared that the church is to receive those kids, the more often they'll be willing to come back, or their parents gonna make them anyway.
All right. All right. Amen. Pastor Gambrell.
I think it's important to definitely bring your kids. And I want to echo that I'm not the kid that came to church through my parents. I'm the kid that somebody invited. And eventually, every Sunday morning by 8 o'clock, I was riding the bus to church. Wasn't nobody taking me. So when the Lord changes your life and when people put their arms around you and love you like Jesus said love, it becomes something you can't live without. So it's important. I love what Andy said, that we need to be teaching it to the kid in Third Ward as well as Sugarland, and breaking it down to his level. But I certainly love what Sherelle said. We got to put our arms around these children. So just want
Right.
to echo you guys. We got to put our arms around these kids.
Well, folks, I want to read to you Proverbs 22:6. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. This has been a good dialogue. I've heard a lot of comments. I took a lot of notes. Something I heard early on was the phrase kid friendly church. I like
Yeah,
that.
I
I would
like that.
also add to that, maybe if we had an adult friendly church, it would help it to be more of a kid friendly church. I like the fact that Pastor Gambrell said that it was not his parents that took him, but it was somebody else's child that was his peer that influenced him. So, parents, not only is it our responsibility to train up a child, our child influences somebody. Just like all of us have someone that we influence, that someone that looks up to us, whether we know it or not. Guess what? Your child may be in that same position. So if you train up a child the way that he should go, there stands a good chance he might bring somebody along with him. And so we have a great responsibility. We have a lot to do when it comes to parents, the importance of parents taking their children to church. Parents, if you're not taking your child to church, shame on you. Slap yourself on the hand. Parents, if you're giving your child a choice, because they don't have a choice whether they're going to go to Fort Bend ISD, or if they're going to HISD, or if they're going to private school. We don't give them a choice. Why in the world, parents, would we give our children a choice? Something that's going to help set up their moral barometer in life, something that's going to lead them to Christ, something that's going to help them have the abundant life that they really deserve, a rightful relationship with Jesus Christ. If we do our part, it'll fall in line, and they'll do their part, and generations to come won't have the problem that other people have had. And so parents, just want to encourage you, take your children to church, because it's just as important, if not more important, than them going to the secular school and learn what they are learning. Look, folks, it's been a wonderful dialogue. And so we're glad that you chimed in with us on today. We want to encourage you to join us next time, same crucial time, same crucial channel, Christian Bible Church in Missouri City, powerhouseoflove.org. Look, folks, panel, thank you. It's been wonderful. We may have to revisit the importance of parents taking their children to church.
Yes, we will.
Thank you, Pastor Gambrell. Thank you, Deacon Jackson. Thank you, Princess Firecracker. We'll see you all. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time on Crucial Dialogue, where we discuss controversial and pivotal issues that need clarity in the faith. You all be blessed. Thanks for listening in. See you next time.
This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Make sure you never miss a show by joining us on Mondays at 6 p.m. by going to our website, powerhouseoflove.org, our YouTube and Facebook channel, or the Google and Apple Podcasts. Hope you tune in next time.